Welcome back to Boom or Bust Fantasy Football Podcast, episode 17. We're back in the G4 Claims studio. Got my usual host with me. I'm back on the mic tonight, and I've got Kieran alongside me. How you doing, Kieran?
Always a pleasure to be here. Best of facilities, and we have got plenty to talk about.
Yep, and he's back, the Spanish correspondent, Roberto. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good.
Good.
Very good. Thank you for having me back once again so I can talk rubbish about my fantasy team. Happy to be here.
Glad to have you back. And let's get straight in. There's a lot to unpack. First of all, our fantasy teams. Kieran, well beaten. Roberto on the verge of defeat, I think.
It's defeat.
Done.
It's done.
And I'm kind of hanging on the edge. It looks if I might get the victory, but still a wee bit to go. I'm not counting my chickens yet, so I'll not bother you too much with that, but let's get into our boom and bust for the week. Kieran, you want to go first? Who's your boom out your team?
Before I go into my rant, we'll start with the good news. The boom, not so much for my team. I was looking around and they completely let me down, so there was no boom for my team, but when I look around the league, Damien Pearce, he has arrived. This was the game we were waiting on. I know we laughed and joked about Rex Burkhead and he got more snaps in the previous 3 weeks, but Damien Pearce this week rushed 14 times for 131 yards and a touchdown, and he caught all 6 of his targets. Finished the day in 25.9 fantasy points. We'll come on to my bust, but for a running back just now, that is very good currency. He is looking good. Yep.
Roberto, over to you. Who's your boom?
So, my boom is JJ, Justin Jefferson. Came to London, conquered, done the gritty, and he left. I was a wee bit concerned because the 2 weeks before that, he'd got 4 points and 10 points. This week, 147 yards, touchdown, 31 fantasy points. Justin Jefferson is back.
Yeah, he was shut out last week. Yep. Lions done a great job on him. This week, came to London, entertained, absolutely brilliant. But what are you saying, Shug? Who's your bust? Your boom?
My boom, first of all, is Richard Goff. Picked him up in the waivers last week, so it just shows you how important the waivers can be. I picked him up, felt as if I needed a wee upgrade at quarterback. Thought he had a good week in him. It was still a tough decision, him over Kirk Cousins. But went with the right call, certainly. He got me just over 33 points, 378 pass yards and 4 touchdown passes, so an incredible performance from him. He is my boom out my team for the week.
He's got the performances in him. He is a good player, traded away for Rams, obviously famously for Stafford, but that's one of the ones where you're picking him up and you're doubting a wee bit that should I start him, should I not? Because I know, am I right in saying you've got Kirk Cousins on your bench? Yeah, so that's quite a brave one to put him in there, and maybe against the Seahawks would have not been great defensively. That a wee bit of a masterstroke from you, mate. I seen you're sitting on 147 points.
That's it. Masterstroke, we'll call it that. Toss up more like.
We'll get to this, right, because oh man, I've had an absolute nightmare. For anybody that listened to the podcast on Thursday, we done the start and sit 'em.
Yep.
So I went my sit-ems. Josh Jacobs scores 25 points. Another one, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think he scored 30 points. I actually had someone in the DMs on Twitter saying, look mate, I'm thinking about Clyde Edwards-Helaire, or who was the other one? I think it was Richie James for the Giants, and I was like, Richie James, only wide receiver at the Giants right now, only target you'll probably see that they throw to. I was like, Edwards-Helaire up against the number 1 run defence in the league. Oh my God, I have had an absolute nightmare. So apologies to anyone that actually takes this serious. Maybe that's your own fault for taking this serious.
And let's go into the busts. Roberto, I'll start with you. Who's your bust?
So my bust is rookie Drake London. I know it's a lot of pressure to obviously put rookies in high regard, to have brilliant games week in, week out, but I mean, he's been standout all season for the Falcons so far. Him and Mariota seem to have a really good connection, but the Browns were very good in keeping the pass game out at the weekend. They only got 17 total yards, and I think it was two points when he was averaging 12 to 22 points before that. So this week, because of the Browns' strong defence, Drake London, unfortunately, is my bust.
I've got to agree there. He's not done well, but once again, he is a rookie. Yep. It tends to be that within the league with the rookies, there's a lot of inconsistency in fantasy football. So you are taking a wee chance when you're putting a rookie out there. But it can go the other way as well, rookies. So
absolutely. What about you, Kieran? On to you.
I'm not going to go one individual. I'm going to go for every running back in the league, bar probably Saquon Barkley right now. I know there's a lot of frustration, and we spoke about it last week about running backs just now in fantasy football, and where is that clear-cut running back that's giving you your 20 points every single week that we've been used to? It's been a really weird season so far in fantasy football, and I didn't want to just single out Najee Harris because I'd done it last week, but I'm fucking raging with him.
I don't know, CMC's turned the corner.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not so sure. Because what did he score this week?
It was 25, I think.
He's injured now, is he not?
Don't give us it. You were saying
honestly,
that last week. Nah.
He's got a toe injury or something. He's away for a scan.
He'll be fine. 25.8 points last week. Oh, sorry, on Sunday there. Yeah. He was written off. I listened to the pod. Obviously, I missed it on Thursday, but I listened to you and Drew talking about how good. We'll go on to that trade later on, but he's a run back that's got to deliver. Probably is injured, aye.
Yeah. Cordell as well, Cordell Patterson.
Aye,
there we go. We've just had that in that he's now on IR, but we'll get to that later on. But it's just, I don't know about you guys, but I was looking to trade away Najee Harris, and I'm looking around like when you do your breakdown of like who's the highest for stats just now, who's the highest for projections, and when I'm looking at possible trades. And I'm basically selling low here because there's no value in him at the moment. There is a high ceiling, as we've seen last season, but he's not done it this year. But when I looked around, I just couldn't find anyone with consistent value, apart from Saquon Barkley, who you're not going to get near just now. He's at RB1, and I know I'm going to take a slagging, and I said it last week, but I preached in pre-season that Barkley could be RB1. As much as 0-4 Martin was laughing at it, look where he is now. So he can keep that up, and that's going to be my biggest regret this year, is not picking him up when he fell to me at 9 in our draft. So
who did you take instead?
Najee Harris. So no, just the sheer frustration with running backs around the league is my bust just now. But you've scored 147 points this week. How have you even come up with a bust?
Well, that was from a few solid players. My bust is Russell Gage. He was the last one playing out of my team, so he could have saw away the victory, no problem. Instead, Gagey, Rusty, he's come out with 4.4 points. Now, I think he's carrying an injury, but for me, looking at his scores over the season, he's been far from consistent. Last week I left him on my bench and he got 24.7. It's the frustrating thing with fantasy football, unfortunately, but he needs to give it a bit more, doesn't he? 4.4 is not good enough.
And see, the thing is, Tom Brady threw just under 400 yards last night, and Gage only got you 4.4 points.
Despicable, isn't it?
I know.
I seen a lot of rage around Leonard Fournette because there was a lot of goal line action, and Brady tended to throw a lot more rather than letting the running back take it in and scored touchdowns.
Yep.
I know that Fournette tweeted last week as well saying, "Don't worry, fantasy owners, the touchdowns are coming," and obviously they didn't. But I think in terms of Gage, I would look at that one as he's a last minute flex if you need someone to go in there, especially with Chris Godwin now back. Evans back from suspension. You're probably going to see, I'm not sure if he played last night, Julio Jones.
He did
play, so the full quartet's out there. Gage is one of the ones. I'm not sure I would be playing him, but you're the man this week, so who am I to talk?
I'm not the man yet. It's no a victory just yet. Steve-O's still got Deebo Samuel to play, so you never know what could happen in that one.
Yeah. So,
but let's move on. Let's get to the games at the weekend.
Latin baby.
NFL coming back to London. Always a big bit of hype about it. Always good to see it on at a different time of day. Better time for us to watch it. Yep. Good bit of hype about it. And it was a very, very decent game. Vikings beating the Saints 28-25. Guys, what was your thoughts on it?
In terms of fantasy, and you talk about a decent time for us to watch it, I know there has been an absolute outcry around Alvin Kamara this week. Obviously, in parts of the US, it was shown at 9:30am in the morning over there. I know AM's morning, of course. And a lot of fantasy owners waking up just out the blue, no symptoms or no indication at all to see that Alvin Kamara was inactive with a rib injury. So I think there's been a lot of work for commissioners across the pond to be a wee bit fair and take Kamara out the teams that had left him in not knowing that this was going to happen. Some commissioners maybe not as fair as myself. So yeah, I know, but in terms of the game itself, I watched it. It was a great advert for it. I know I spoke to a few folk that aren't really into the NFL and watched it because of the hype around it in Britain and stuff, but there was loads to get through here. Vikings beating the Saints 28-5 and it coming down to a double doink now.
Yep.
In a world of viral video and these things go down, and Roberto done is a great video on the double doink. This kind of puts it on the stage that, the NFL's in London, the UK, I know it's been happening for a long time, but the more eyes on it, the better over here, and just another step closer to why we need more American football over here.
Yep, you're right. I mean, I remember the last game I went to in London a few years ago, and it was the Saints against the Dolphins, and it was a bit of a blowout, and it was a bit of a... Everything around the game was brilliant, great to go to it, great for the spectacle here, but it didn't provide that last gasp excitement or anything. If you didn't go away, if you didn't like American football before that game, you wouldn't have been drawn to it. Well, this one this weekend, you'd see that late drama and you could potentially be hooked on it.
100%. It was, listen, I absolutely loved it. It was so good to have football at 2:30 in the afternoon on a Sunday. You could just chill out and we had that from 2:30 until 2 in the morning. I think we had
That's
football.
right, yeah.
Literally 12 hours of football. So it was good. It was obviously tiring getting up for work this morning when I'd sat on the couch all night watching it.
You were sending me trade offers at 10 to 2 in the morning.
I know.
We'll get there though, but no, and like you said there, I think we were in a different chat for NFL one, and you were talking about like British football, and someone said a comment saying, I'm glad to see you're watching it, and you were like, no, I'm changing it over at 2:30 when the Vikings and Saints game starts. But when I was listening, the commentary, oh my God.
Can I draw something back a wee minute? You two in our chat?
Yes. You want that?
Kept that quiet? Nah.
Listen, there's a reason you have to stay away from the PlayStation.
Listen.
It's a gaming chat. We'll not get into that, but no, the atmosphere was incredible, but the commentary for folk listening at home, it was like they were talking to us like we were NFL babies.
Yep.
We'd never seen NFL before in the UK, and they were talking about the slow kicking game is what you're into, and it's like, come on, we are very well educated when it comes to the NFL, and it's been coming here for near enough, 19 years now?
Yeah.
Like, do your homework, man.
I know, I get that. I mean, in some ways, I think you can understand trying to kind of go to those who are just watching it for the first time, but there's a way to do it. I always think that the Sky commentary that is normally on a Sunday is more than enough. It sort of explains things in detail, where although we are educating the game, it was easy to get into and understand for the newcomer without being patronising, you know. So you're right, it probably did kind of go over that, to be honest. Yeah,
in terms of the game itself, coming down to that double dunk, the decisions, it went back and forward. There was a very poor face mask call going down. I think Matthew had done it first to Thielen, am I right? And Thielen kind of done it back, and Matthew was the one that got called for it, and then that leads to the game-winning kick. Will Lutz is then, after nailing one 60-yarder, has to try and nail the second from 61 yards, and let's be honest, 60 yards to put it through the sticks is unbelievable, and then to have to try and do it 61 and missing by, we're talking millimetres here. It could have went either way, the way the balls moved, so very unlucky for the Saints. I would have loved to have seen that go to overtime. It deserved it. The fans there deserved it too.
Absolutely. Our host, our guest the other week, Troy, would have been happy though anyway, so shout out to him. I'm sure he enjoyed that victory.
He would have, and I'm looking at my notes here and I've missed a wee bit when we were talking about the Kamara stuff, folk waiting up. Not really sure what's going to happen with Kamara, and one guy that surprises in fantasy football, Latavius Murray, he looks like a decent backup for a waiver wire pickup for anyone that's maybe not sure and not sold in Mark Ingram. He racked up 13.5 points and even chipped in with a touchdown, so he could be good for guys that are struggling for a running back, even someone that's looking for now a backup now that Cordero Patterson's injured, and the news in Javonte Williams, which we'll get on to as well.
Then moving on, next big game, we feature the Seahawks beat the Lions 48-45. Great game. The fantasy football standouts have got to be the Ham Hawk and Goff. Unbelievable the points they were putting up. Other guys, kind of Metcalf, big performance as well. What do you guys think of that game?
I just feel so bad for the Lions. I mean, how many good performances do they need to put in and still lose a game?
Yep.
You know what I mean? I mean, to score 45 points and still lose the game, I feel so bad for them because they're playing good football, and this seems to be a recurring theme every week where they play good football, they score well, and then the other team just outscores them. I don't know what it is, they just don't have the cojones to.
Yeah, I think in terms of the Lions, they're everyone's favourite other team, and I know we say it every week, but kind of because of Hard Knocks, but not just that now, the entertainment value, and I grabbed a wee stat off Twitter earlier, and I know I've had it in our chat, but the Lions have scored the most points in the NFL this season with 140. They are 0-3. That's unbelievable. I think that's the past 3 games, sorry. 48-45 to the Seahawks. What a game. And another wee stat from that's a scoregami, which for anyone that doesn't know, it's the first time that score has ever happened in the NFL.
Wow.
So that's another one chipped off. But now fantasy relevance, like you said, Shug, DK Metcalf, huge game. Absolutely huge game. I think fantasy owners of him have been waiting on that game. Hawkinson, one of the ones I had last year, he was just a lock and load. Just put him in there, don't worry about taking him out of the team, hope he doesn't get injured. This year it's not really been the case. I think he's sitting around tight end 16 at the moment, which I think will go up after this weekend. But Jared Goff, what a game. He's got them in him.
Absolutely. Very
good passing quarterback. He's got them in him, and very unlucky. And really hope to see the Lions kick on a wee bit.
I think we've got to give credit to Seahawks. I think at the start of the season, or before the season started, I think we were pretty critical, and we didn't really think the Seahawks would win. We didn't really think there was a lot of relevance in their fantasy team, and started the season all right.
Good performance from Geno Smith as well last night. I think he got 31 fantasy points last night. But you need to remember as well that the Lions obviously scored 45 points, and they were missing their wide receiver 1 in St. Brown and their running back 1 in Swift. So to score 45 points with secondary stepping up is phenomenal. But like you said, fair play to the Seahawks. I think if the Seahawks are going to back Geno Smith as their quarterback, then they really need to just jump in with 2 feet room and just put all confidence in him.
Yeah, Shug said it there, and we're talking about Geno Smith as well. It deserves the credit. Sorry, I think it was you, Roberto, but he's a very good pickup at the moment. I know folk are kind of tiptoeing round a quarterback. You're pointing at yourself. This is a guy that didn't want to give up his waiver wire targets in week 1, and now you've already let on to 2, and we're about 15 minutes into the podcast. But
I know.
No, he's definitely a good pickup. I know I stashed Zach Wilson when I seen the news right away that he was coming back, but Geno Smith fits that bracket as well. I've looked and I don't know how accurate it is, but it looks like he's only rostered in 7.8% of leagues. So that kind of tells a story of, I don't think anybody else really had the confidence in him, but if he starts using his targets in terms of Metcalf, Lockett, you've seen Rashad Penny yesterday have a huge game as well. Seahawks could be sneaky good.
Yeah, definitely. Moving on, big result for the Chiefs, beating the Bucs 41-31. Paddy Mahomes masterclass. Wasn't it, Roberto?
Yeah. I mean, I thought both quarterbacks were really good. I thought it was a really good game from a neutral point of view. There was a lot happening. I mean, the first kick-off of the game, the Bucs fumbled the ball and the Chiefs picked it up at their 25 and then went and scored from it with Kelsey. I think it was their first or second throw of the game.
That's right, yeah.
So, but both quarterbacks were phenomenal. The offensive play was ridiculously good. I thought Brady was really good, 375 yards. Kelsey was phenomenal. Chiefs just look, like we spoke about that we thought without Howe, they looked brilliant in week 1. In the second week, they were really poor. But see last night, see the amount of people that Mahomes targeted. I feel like he had options everywhere. And he went to so many different receivers, running backs. I thought they were really good.
That's what we said, wasn't it, Kieran? Like at the start, we said possibly they could be less predictable than they were last year. And then it seemed to be a bit stale for those couple of weeks. And as Roberto said, back on track last night.
Yeah, Patriots-esque when we're talking about how many targets are there, and it's not great for fantasy football, if we're really honest. When they're spreading it along like that. I know I've got Juju Smith-Schuster on my team. Very, very frustrating at the moment. And when Mahomes is passing for as many yards as that, then I don't know what to do with him. Playing in an offence that's scoring that many points as well, then there's no reason not to get rid of him. But no, unbelievable to see Patrick Mahomes back. I think because he had a poor year last year, folk, I'm not saying they wrote him off, but this is the Patrick Mahomes that we know. This is the Patrick Mahomes that carried that team to the Super Bowl, and basically won the Super Bowl and the ones he's played in. But no, he completed 23 of 37 passes for 249 yards, 3 touchdowns, and it's another one for the highlight reel. If you've seen the touchdown of Clyde Edwards-Helaire,
where he shuttle pass.
Oh mate, that's the Patrick Mahomes that we love, isn't it? And I think fantasy owners of him will just breathe a sigh of relief. But I said it on Thursday as well that I expected this to be blockbuster. When Mahomes goes up against Brady, I don't know what it is. It's like lightning in a bottle. Every time you watch it, it's high-scoring matches. It's just two guys just going punch for punch and just full-on entertainment. It's like the old school versus the new school, and not one of them want to give it up. Brilliant to watch.
And I mean, with the Chiefs, it's as I touched on there, it's been either tremendous or it's been really, really mediocre. Do you see that sort of finding a balance and then finding a sort of consistency, or do you think it will be up and down throughout the season? What's the real Chiefs, do you think, this season, looking at what we've seen so far?
I think last night could really kick them on. I think now that Mahomes has been able to trust so many different people in so many different areas of the field, that he'll go into next week knowing that wherever he puts the ball, there will be someone available. So I think this game's going to really, really kick them on. It was really good to watch. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I agree. 100% agree in terms of how many new players come in there. When you look at guys like that were already there, your Kelce's, your McCall Hardman, still very good players. Clyde Edwards-Helaire looks to have turned a wee corner. I know he's sitting at running back 4 at the moment. He's had an okay season. When we say running back 4, that might sound like it's a lot better than what it actually is, but there's no running backs from 4 right downwards that's had a consistent season, so he's done okay. You've also got the boy Pacheco that's sitting right behind him that could be very good. I know he's like punt receiving at the moment. And then you add in there Juju, Valdez-Scantling. Like, they are so well equipped to go and do something this year, and it takes time for all this to gel and come together. When their offense last year, teams worked it out quickly that you take Hill and Kelce out of the game, which I say as if it's a very easy task. You'll get a bit of joy, but no, they really could be the real deal this year.
Now, looking on to the rest of the games, a big one came on Thursday night as the Bengals beat the Dolphins 27-15. Now, I'll touch on that. I don't think the loss for the Dolphins is the big story here. It's a tour situation. Not great before. I mean, we don't have all the facts. We're not doctors in here, but obviously, first and foremost, you hope he's all right. You hope he gets back to full health, whatever that may be. That's more important than winning a game. It's more important that he plays again. At this stage, we don't really know when he'll be back. It's just, it wasn't a good look, was it? Him coming off injured the game before, going back on, and then none of us expected him to play that game, and then he comes out and picks up another nasty injury. So we've just got to hope that he's all right from there. But that's the big story, isn't it? Yeah.
We touched on it last Monday, and we said, so the whole shaky leg thing when he came off, he looked punch drunk, and they blamed it on a back injury. Now, what we said, I think, was bang on there. If that's a back injury, you're not coming back out onto the field and playing. If it's causing you to have legs like that, then that's a serious back injury. You're not throwing another pass after that. Quite obviously, it was concussion, and they've done their bit to get him out there, but it's quite clear that the lights were on and no one was home, and then you see this happen this week, and it's a very, very scary scene to see. Not very good publicity in terms of the NFL. I know his health comes first, and I'm going a bit off track with that, but there needs to be stronger protocols there. We love the NFL because of the physicality, the brutality of it, the sheer aggression. Like, as humans, we're pretty naturally barbaric, and we like this sort of stuff, but but if we start to tiptoe around things like head knocks, and it becomes a bit of a feeble sport, and it's a lot of non-contact stuff. I know a lot of the old school fans really don't like the product that it is nowadays because how much protection that the quarterbacks get, that they need to clamp down on it now in the safest possible way.
And you've got to feel for Tua. I mean, this was meant to be his big season. It still might be. Listen, we don't know anything about how long it's going to be. We hope, obviously, as I said, his long-term health is the most important thing. You hope that he can be back soon, but it's a really tough one for to take one. It was his big season to sort of really, and he was doing it in recent weeks. He was really doing it. It's just a hard one to take, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely not nice to see, but like you said, we're not doctors or anything, but when you've seen that in the week before, you don't really need to be a rocket science to know that him not being able to stand and his 2 feet getting carried off by two of his pals is not a good look for him returning 2 weeks in a row. So listen, I hope he gets better. I would love to see him play again this season. I would really like to see him get a chance with the tools that he's got around him, like he has been.
And as I said, apart from obviously the important stuff about Tua's health and stuff like that, to me, what stands out just now, I don't know where the Dolphins sit now, because it's quite clear that they don't really rate Bridgewater for me. If they did, I mean, the game wasn't as if this is a crucial game in the playoffs where they had to get him out there. They've ended up losing the game anyway. Yep. They've still had a good start to the season. It's not been, I don't know why you would rush to get him back out there. To me, it reeks that they don't trust Bridgewater. And then I've seen them come out speaking about their rookie quarterback, saying that they trust him to go in if Bridgewater fails. Now that to me just says, that's as if trying to convince the fans, if plan B goes wrong, we've got a plan C, instead of saying we've got a bit of trust in plan B. To me, it really looks as if that they know that Tua was crucial, was a key part of it, and it just doesn't look great, does it? And it really does leave what was a very, very promising situation for the Dolphins. And again, as I said, we don't know the lay of the injury. We don't know how long he's going to be out, but it does look as if it can be crucial with the season, doesn't it?
Yeah. I can't see him coming back anytime soon. I think the NFL are going to clamp down pretty heavily on it. I know that they've spoke out recently about they've fired the independent neurologist who goes nameless. I think there's a bit of safe face here, and something doesn't quite add up for me. Not that I'm trying to start speculation, but something doesn't quite add up there. But yeah, you're bang on. I think in terms of the backroom and the management at the Dolphins, their team heavily relies on Tua playing and being on form, which he has. He's been brilliant. He's been excellent for them. But I think in terms of the Bengals and the Dolphins, they both sit around about the same level for me this season. Unbelievable offences and a deserved and much needed win for the Bengals. Yeah,
absolutely. Gets them sort of, I said, they're sort of getting a bit of momentum now. We'll move on to you. The Giants getting a victory over the Bears.
Yes, absolutely delighted. We go 3-1. This is one of the ones I had kind of earmarked that we should win. I know the Bears just now are a wee bit progressive with Justin Fields at quarterback. They've not looked great aside from their running game, and losing David Montgomery was a big one as well, which kind of put us in the driving seat. But no, we go 3-1. I'm probably going to eat my words again on Daniel Jones. I don't think he's a franchise quarterback, but he's looking better game by game this season. He looks great under Brian Daboll. Once again, Saquon Barkley is just, he is our team at the moment. He was unbelievable at the weekend, and I know that Daniel Jones had 2 walk-in touchdowns. That's what we want. We want that quarterback that if he's not going to be doing it with his arms, he's going to be doing it with his legs, because we need that. The O-line is terrible. It's still not good enough. But no, a lot of big stops from the defence as well. And Kayvon Thibodeau is starting to really come to fruition, came back from injury and he's done well. So I just hope that next week we're okay, because I know that Daniel Jones is waiting on results coming back on his ankle. I'm right in saying QB2 came in, Tyrod Taylor came in. I always get him mixed up with Bridgewater for some reason. Very different, same, very alike styles. I'm getting mixed up here. He came in and get concussed, so he ended up with Daniel Jones back in the game with his ankle injury, and then Saquon Barkley taking snaps in a wildcat formation. So we ended up with Saquon Barkley at quarterback. So yeah. We'll see what next week brings. A very tough game against the Packers. Brave Roberto to wear the hat. You thought he was going into hibernation tonight?
I know. Listen, it was. I just don't know what to say. I mean, there's flashes of Fields being absolutely brilliant. There is moments he rushes, gets out the pocket. He does a lot of things really well, but he also does a lot of things really poorly. He's not through a touchdown in 3 games in a row. I mean, 11 completions over a full game for a number 1 quarterback. I mean, it's just not good enough when you've got players out there doing that. Triple the times, 3 times more. So
yeah. Next one, Falcons beating the Browns. Roberto,
So
Browns are just throwing away games, aren't they?
Yeah. But I do think this was coming for the Falcons as well. I think they've played really good football all year. I think Mariota is a pretty solid quarterback. Didn't have a good game at the weekend there.
Put it a wee bit closer.
Oh, closer, sorry. Mariota didn't obviously have a good game at the weekend, but they had a really strong running game in Cordell Patterson, who's now on injury reserve, and Algier will be stepping up, who had a good game at the weekend. But listen, I think all season Falcons have played good football. They just haven't been getting the wins. So good on them. Happy for them.
Algier, a very good sneaky pickup again in waivers this week. I think he's going to be very popular.
Yep. Big win as well for the Bills. Kieran, didn't look like it was going that way. It looked as if they were kind of suffering a wee sort of hangover from last week's poor performance, the Bills as well, but could be a big win for them bouncing back there.
Yeah, 100%. Ravens got off to a good start in this game. Lamar Jackson doing his usual in the first half, then just sort of tailed off. And I can't criticise him. He's carried me in fantasy in weeks 2 and 3, and then this week just robbed me.
Yeah,
he's not had a good game whatsoever. The Ravens are one of these teams that completely frustrate people, I think. We know that it's in there. We know that they could potentially go on and make a push for the Super Bowl with all the talent that they've got in that team, and they just fall short again. The Bills, maybe not trademark Bills, trademark Josh Allen here. I know Isaiah McKenzie had a good game. Gabe Davis as well for me was terrible. But no, they got the job done, 23-20 to the Bills, and yeah, they march on, still favourites for the Super Bowl in my eyes.
See quickly on that. The Ravens in the fourth quarter had opportunity on fourth down to put a field goal through, get the easy 3 points to go 23-20 up. They went for it on fourth down. It was an incomplete pass. Bills went up the park, got the field goal. They won the game. Why are they not going for an easy field goal in 20 yards?
But wasn't this the story of last season where they kept doing this? They kept going aggressive on fourth down rather than going for the field goal. I mean, they've got the best kicker of all time in Justin Tucker there.
Weird. Really
it
weird.
is some crazy decisions. I know they like to play aggressive considering how Lamar Jackson plays, but yeah, weird. We've seen it last season and we're seeing it again this season.
Yep. Next up, Cowboys beating the Commanders quite convincingly, 25-10. Listen, there's only one thing I want to touch on, and that's Mayer's kicking. 15 points he got me for fantasy football. Mayor Quimby.
Mayor Quimby. How many did they get last week? Not many?
Nah, not many. I don't.
Had a mayor.
Hopefully it gets mayor next week. Anyway, we'll move on from that one. Roberto, Chargers beating the Texans 34-24.
Thought they looked really good. Didn't know how they were going to be after Herbert coming off the back of that rib injury, was it, the week before. Good to see him in full flow. Eckler obviously had an absolute field day.
Someone put the batteries on him.
Aye, finally, in 3 touchdowns. I think he was over 30 fantasy points. I think it was 66 rushing yards and 64 receiving yards. So really good. Listen, Chargers look pretty solid all round, apart from they got absolutely humped by the Jags last week. They've beat some good teams this season, and they look like they're doing pretty well.
Yeah. Shug's got Mike Williams incoming, don't you?
Mikey boy, yep. We've just agreed a deal for him.
Yep, Mike Williams for Melvin Gordon. This was before we knew that Javonte Williams was out for the season, but Mike Williams was one of these ones I kept thinking, right, when do I kind of push him on, knowing that Keenan Allen might be back, but who knows when Allen will be back? Like, this hamstring injury just seems to be lingering with him, and the more it lingers with him, I think Williams still very, very fantasy relevant. I was reluctant to let him go because I didn't know, but I knew I would at some point. But no.
Yep. Next one up, the Titans beating the Colts. Kieran, what's your thoughts on that one?
Not exactly a classic. 25-7 to the Titans. Tannehill looks okay. Probably a good backup quarterback in fantasy football. The Colts are the Colts, and they're not going to be a very good team this season. I think we'll be looking at them for one of the top 3 picks in the draft next year. Pretty much a transitional year. I thought they would be good. When Matt Ryan came in at quarterback, you've got Pittman there as an excellent target, and it's just not happened for them whatsoever. But no, the Titans again, I think another good day for Derrick Henry. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, really good day.
But I didn't pay too much attention to this one. Not exactly a classic.
Next one, Eagles beating the Jags. Eagles soaring again. Big win for them. That's them 4-0. I mean, they rallied. They were 14-0 down early. It was wet, windy, horrible conditions, and they showed they've got enough to get it done. For me, they've proved they're genuine contenders this year. Not one that we really spent too much time on pre-season talking about, but I think you can't argue with that, can you?
No, I do think they do have an easier run of games, but they do look pretty good with Hurts and Smith and Sanders. Are looking very strong this year.
Hurts is a fantasy rock star in terms of what he does, and well, with his arm and with his legs. Like, I think they basically just ran the ball down the neck of the Jags at the weekend. And even Miles Sanders turning up. I was frustrated as hell having Devonta Smith and thinking he's going to have a huge week. 30 points last week. I think it was 14 points a week before, and it looked like he had really stepped up and announced himself on that stage. But I think it's going to be like that all year with AJ Brown either getting the bulk of the passing, or it'll be Devonta Smith. So for me, he's still a very reliable flex option. It won't be my wide receiver 1 or 2. But no, the Eagles do look good.
Yeah. Next up, Roberto, Jets beating the Steelers 24-20. Thoughts?
Zach Wilson's first game back, obviously. I liked them under Joe Flacco because Garrett Wilson got a lot more receptions. He was in my starting lineup. But listen, Zach Wilson looked really good considering his first game back. Fourth quarter, he was phenomenal. They did really improve on their running game. And listen, a really, really strong overall performance. I quite like the look of the Jets this year.
Yeah, hard to disagree there. They look even better with Wilson at quarterback, but what was that?
Motorbike in here.
But no, the Jets look good. Convincing win again.
Yeah.
Yep. On the next one, Cardinals beating the Panthers 26-16. Kieran?
Yeah, the Panthers don't look great to me at all. I've been banging this drum for weeks. CMC though came alive in fantasy football, but
done the business.
Like we say, just not consistent yet, is he?
No.
I know this is a guy you should expect 20 points above from every week. That should be his floor, and it's not been that way. It looks like every single week you're just going to hear about CMC being on the injury report, and then I'm playing at the weekend. There seems to be a wee pattern emerging, but no, the Cardinals 26 points. Kyler Murray is frustrating best again.
Yep.
Marquise Brown looks like a very, very good signing there, and a very good fantasy option. I've been pestering Jordan all week. It's not happening, and I don't think it will happen. But no, he looks good there. Greg Dortch maybe a wee bit quiet.
Last night was very, very quiet. Heavy focus on Zach Ertz. He seemed to be Mr. Reliable for Murray last night. But Cardinals they start so slow every single weekend. See if they just started the way that they finished, they could be phenomenal. Yeah, absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. And Rondale Moore back there as well. He might be another decent one to stash.
And then the Packers go and beat the Patriots 27-24. Packers, I've not been overly impressed with them. They had to rally just to get it to overtime. As I said, I haven't been overly impressed. Lazard got me some good points. He was, I think, after the trade last week, Drew was on saying that he'd sit him, and I was heavily considering it because everyone was reading, but luckily kept on my team. And Lazard put some decent points up, but I don't really see the Packers doing much, to be honest. Patriots are not a great side, and they've really struggled to get that one over the line.
Yeah, and you need to remember the Patriots as well lost their quarterback, and they had the rookie coming in. Oh no, actually they lost two quarterbacks. They lost the second quarterback, and
lost Matt Jones last week. I think it was like one of the first snaps. Brian Hoyer in there, and his head gets squashed and concussed, and then they bring in the rookie, and no offence to the boy, he just looked like he was absolutely shitting himself. But here, let's be honest, to hang in there against Aaron Rodgers, I know the defence came up trumps with a pick six, but nah, the Packers just haven't looked convincing. And once again, we go back to the running backs. Aaron Jones, this guy was a fantasy rock star. He's not even turned up yet this year at all.
I think as well, the way that the Packers are playing this season, because they've lost Adams, is they've got Dillon and Jones in the game at the exact same time, so it's almost like a 50-50 snap, whereas before it may have been 60-40, 70-30 Aaron Jones, so it is quite frustrating to have him. And
Roberto, the last one we'll go over, Raiders beating the Broncos. Broncos have been dug meat, aren't they? And
Yeah.
Raiders, is that them finally getting a wee bit of form, or do you think the Broncos are just that bad?
I mean, both are pretty underwhelming, to be honest with you. That puts Raiders 1-3. When you buy or when you sign Adams, you're expecting to be pushing up there, playoffs, Super Bowl. They just haven't seemed to get going. One thing they did do last night was they focused heavily on the run game, which they've not done all season, and it was a massive success for them. Don't know if that's because the Broncos are just poor defensively, but Josh Jacobs had a blinder last night.
Sorry to anyone that dropped him off the back of my recommendation.
He's a cracker.
Get out of here, man.
Listen, underwhelming game. Broncos, Russell Wilson. We've seen glimpses of him being back to his usual self last night. There was moments of magic, but I mean, I wouldn't back either team in anything.
We've been saying this for a while, like a few weeks now, that Wilson looks terrible, right, and has looked terrible, but he's not going to be like that all season. He's going to come good. It's Russell Wilson.
Yep.
Let's be honest. And we seen yesterday, Cortland Sutton seems to be his number one target at the moment. I don't know if I'd be selling high on him or trying to trade high on him, but he does look great with Wilson there. Jerry Jeudy as well, 15 points upwards. I was quite happy at that. I know he was on my bench, but I'll have a wee look at him and see how his matchups fare in the coming weeks. But no, good to see Russell Wilson looking good again.
Yeah.
Yep. And tonight we've got Rams at the 49ers. How have you seen that one going, Kieran?
Rams, I just can't see past the Rams at the moment. Cooper Kupp in any game will win you games. In terms of the 49ers, they've got Deebo Samuel.
Yep.
And that's it. When you're losing guys like Eli Mitchell, I know Jeff Wilson's come in, he's not looked great. They've now got Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback, who was basically a meme last week. I just can't see past the Rams. And I feel for the 49ers because they are a very well structured franchise, and Shanahan's an excellent coach, but it's unfortunate the injuries that they've had, so I can't see past the Rams. But one guy I do like at the 49ers fantasy wise, Brandon Ayuk. I think he's ready to explode, but Samuel seems to see very much everything.
I mean, let's take a wee minute to talk about trades.
Okay.
I mean, last week was a big week. I obviously missed Thursday night show. Well, I went out on Friday. My trade with Drew, I think, you know me, I love to roll with dice. I love to just spice it up, my trade. But I think that was one that was a kind of talking point for us because it was a good few players moving and you could look at it two ways. Now, I listened to Drew tell me about talk on here about how good his trade was.
Yeah, can I jump in a wee minute and just fill anyone in who's not heard how the trade went? So, Drew received from Shug Alvin Kamara, Cordero Patterson, Isaiah McKenzie and Christian Kirk. And going the other way to Shug, he now has Christian McCaffrey, Melvin Gordon, not for much longer because he's coming to my house, Alan Lazard and Rashad Bateman.
Yep. I mean, for me, it's the way trades should work. They should cause a wee bit of debate. You should look at it and say, you could argue it both ways. Now, for me, Drew came out and he'd had CMC, he had him written off, injured. No, I know that was a gamble for me. He could get injured. He does seem to be doubtful every single week. But again, he was Drew's number one pick for a reason.
Yep.
And got the points at the weekend. Now, as you know, as I've said before, I operate week by week. These guys could be moved on in a week or so I don't think what he could do 6 weeks from now, whatever. I try and think, who can improve my team right now? And then, if need be, I can move them on. I can roll the dice again. So looking at guys I got, CMC, I think, speaks for himself. It's about time, as you said, that running back started to catch fire, and he's one of the top ones. Got me good points at the weekend. Look through, as I said, Melvin Gordon. Running backs are sought after, and I done that trade with you again, which brings me in another solid wide receiver through the trade. Alan Lazard, again, put him in, got me good points at the weekend. And Rashad Bateman, I think, again, he's one that I could use. Probably not going to be a starter every week, but could be one that I use now and again. It was tough to lose Kamara. I've always rated him highly. Cordero Patterson, again, he was a tough one to lose because I think he is playing really well. Isaiah McKenzie, I think, is a solid wide receiver.
Yep.
And then obviously Christian Kirk, not one I wanted to lose. Didn't get the points at the weekend, but I've sold him high. I've sold him where I thought his max was. So
he was the one Drew wanted in the first place, wasn't it?
That's what drove the trade on. So I think, listen, personally, I think I've done better out of that one. I just think I'll be getting a lot more out of that. But it's one of those ones that could go either way.
I think it was very positive for you when you look at Lazard and you look at CMC. They've scored high points in games where their teams have underperformed.
Yep.
So it's a good trade for you. But no, we've traded Melvin Gordon for Mike Williams, as we spoke about.
Yep.
Once again, that could go either way. Melvin Gordon's not got the best history of injuries, and it also might look at a snap share with, is it Boone, the other running back's name is? So
he looked awful, really bad last night.
Good
really
news.
Bad last night, honestly.
And I'm snipping about your team, Roberto. I want Khalil Herbert off you, and I know a guy you spoke about earlier, Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
You like him, so we could maybe get a deal done.
Yeah.
We'll get it done before the podcast goes out tomorrow morning.
I might take a wee look at Herbert as well.
No, get out of here.
Somebody's got to hoover him up.
Is Herbert not the name of a car as well?
Wee Herbie.
Wee Herbie.
The Beetle.
Could be.
The Beetle.
Now let's look forward. Another NFL London game coming up. Giants v Packers. Kieran, I'll start with you. It's your team.
That's a classic.
Yep.
First time Aaron Rodgers and the Packers specifically have come to London. That'll now complete every single team in the NFL have now came to London and played. So excellent occasion. The Giants looking good. The Packers looking not so good. That'll probably come back to haunt me saying that. But no, it'd be great to see. It's been a long time since the Giants have played over here as well. Unfortunately, I'm not making it down. I've used up all my holidays and work this year, so I can't get down and back up at the weekend. But no, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it as well because I know I like to watch the Giants, but I love to watch the Red Zone. So when they're both on at the same time, I find myself flicking back and forward.
Yeah.
But it'll be good because it's on during the day and I can just kick back and watch the full game and enjoy watching my team.
Definitely.
Again, I've spoke about it. We spoke about it previously. It's the London games getting, and the ones in Germany, getting the top games, aren't they? They're not getting a diluted product. That is another big game with two huge teams, so it will be another sellout crowd. Must be sold out already, isn't it?
By minutes.
Aye.
The tickets go in minutes.
Yeah, 100%. And what you were saying there as well, getting the top games, I think that game at the weekend there was the first time in London where you've had two teams with winning records playing against each other as well. So
class.
Yeah, that's a biggie.
Aye.
Well, we've got Drew on the phone just now. He's actually phoning me. Will we get him on?
Let's get him on.
Right, I don't know how... Oh, no, he's away. I've got a missed call from him.
You're getting yourself some of an editing to do with this, by
It's
the way.
okay, it's okay. We're not taking that one out, but it's just... his ears are probably burning.
He's probably wanting to trade.
Yeah.
100%.
Listen, Roberto, we know we've had you on a few times, but we've never properly done the quick fire questions. So you're in the hot seat.
Let's go.
You all right for it?
Yeah.
You ready?
Ready.
You want these in Spanish as well, or just English?
English will be
good,
okay.
Good, that's fine, because my Spanish isn't great, to be honest.
De nada.
Si, senor.
That's all I know.
Yeah, perfect.
Right, quick fire questions for Roberto. Roberto, NFL team you don't like?
Patriots.
NFL team that you think's overrated?
Cowboys.
Oh, Martin, I like that one.
They are overrated.
0-4, Martin.
They've done nothing for so long.
NFL team underrated?
This year, the Jags.
NFL team you love? That's an easy one.
The Bears.
Can you give us a bear roar?
We're on camera as well. Do the hands.
I think that was more of a cub, but we'll let it slide. NFL team you secretly root for?
I love an underdog, so anyone that's terrible, so the Jets or the
Jets.
Jags, I quite like to see them doing well.
Come on, don't leave the Giants out.
And me, nah.
All-time favourite quarterback?
Jay Cutler. Chicago legend.
I like it.
Nice. NFL current favourite quarterback?
Probably Lamar this season, most exciting. I think he's third in rushing yards this year.
Yeah.
Quarterback. So yeah, Lamar.
Is he your favourite Jackson of all time?
Love Michael.
It's 50-50.
NFL all-time favourite player?
Brian Urlacher for the Bears was phenomenal.
See, when I went to Chicago, he was one of the first billboards that I seen. I think he was selling some sort of hair product.
You should have bought some.
I was thinking I quite like that guy, but I could be doing with a ponytail. I think it's more.
Get him on the phone, see if he can sort you out.
I think it's more at the front. And if there's anyone watching that deals with the old transplant, get him.
Anyone in Turkey?
Get a Turkish correspondent on next week.
That's it. Slide into my DMs and get straight down my hairline.
NFL current favourite player?
Justin Jefferson, most exciting. Love the gritty.
Yeah.
JJ for me this year.
Can you do the gritty for us?
Yeah, come on, cameras are on. That's poor.
Very poor. Very poor.
That was more the Bobby than the gritty.
NFL most overrated player?
Ezekiel Elliott.
Interesting.
Pollard's better than him, but because he's on a big contract, he needs to be number one.
That's it.
Well, guys, we've covered a lot tonight. Thanks for joining us, Roberto. Brilliant as always to have you on. Thanks, Kieran, for being beside me in the hot seat.
Always my pleasure, and always good to get Roberto on. And yeah, looking forward to another game tonight. We're not quite finished this week, so this will come out tomorrow morning, so obviously won't pick that up. But yeah, as ever, subscribe, like, get involved with us. We're really getting the wheels in motion now, which is good. So the more we can get involved, the better.
And again, once again, thank you to G4 Claims for having us in the G4 podcast studio. Not at Fault Claims.
Made easy.
Thanks again, guys.